What's up, everybody? It's an NFC East show, and this is going to be a long one because we're splitting the duties here with J and B Talking Shop. We're doing 2 hours today talking about football, so people are going to start coming in as we go along here. But right now, I got Sneaky G Man and
What's going
myself
on, everybody?
and we're on Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, Twitch, Roku TV, all part of the Northeast Streaming Sports Network. It's been a minute. What's going on?
It has been a minute. But as always, it's good to be back. Got a lot to talk about. True. What's up, man?
There we go. Look at
Um,
that. Now, I told you they'd be showing up slowly. We're all
Oh
coming.
man,
Obviously, we're doing a new time here, Wednesdays at 7, because football season is upon us.
yes,
And right
sir.
now, like I said, it's going to be hard to be able to travel and get to where we got to get to and then still be able to do a show on Monday night. So, literally, we're doing it on Wednesday nights now. What's up, guys? Are you ready
Nothing
for some
much.
football? Are you ready for some
Oh
football?
yes. Oh, I can't wait. I can't wait. Um, Jamie, can you do the one option where it spreads us out? Because my big head is taking the whole camera right now.
I think that was hysterical. I was keeping that. I was keeping it right there just because
Oh
of
my
that.
God. It's like right here. Oh, goodness.
So
Go
what's
ahead.
up, guys? What are you guys doing? What has been going on? It's been a few weeks since we've been on this. I feel like it's been a month.
It's been about a couple weeks now. I since then I've saw True one time up in Dallas. Saw Stephen A. Smith and Michael Irvin, and that was a good experience. And a lot of training camp. A lot of people got cut. That I was surprised to, that was surprised that got cut. And like you said, we're like, so what, 7 days? Tomorrow will be a week exactly before the Rams play. Who they play again? Is it Buffalo?
Buffalo.
Yeah, Rams play Buffalo next week to kick off the season. I can't wait. I cannot
Yeah.
wait.
And I'm going to be heading up right after our show next week. I'm heading up to Detroit. Detroit Rock City.
All right. Have you ever been in that stadium before?
I have. Last year I went to that stadium and
Oh,
we
that's right.
spanked them like 46 to 6 or something like that. It was something ridiculous.
I love the fact. So I've been watching their Hard Knocks Life, and I love how that show makes you root for the players. How you hope they get a roster spot. I really appreciate how HBO pulls that off, and we'll see next week. I know next week is the season finale, but I am looking forward to watching it, seeing who actually makes the team. Although we'll have some kind of inkling. And all you got to do is go on their site and you'll see who got cut and who didn't. But I'm gonna hold the suspense and wait till next week. So that's my 2 cents. What about you, True?
oh, just staying busy and looking at the roster moves that were made today after the cuts from yesterday because we had cut both quarterbacks. And
I saw that.
They cleared waivers and now they're back on the practice squad. So the quarterback situation still hasn't been handled. We're still missing our left tackle. I think Tyler Smith is going to be moving over there with the absence of Tyron Smith. So it's going to be interesting to see what's going to be working out here in the next 10 days.
Yeah, we actually Davis Webb, one of the guys that performed really well in the preseason, got cut, but he came off waivers and he's now on the practice squad. Another standout, Roche, is also on the practice squad as well. Although I was hoping to see Bachman. I mean, Bachman was one of the top receivers that made a lot of plays during the preseason. He was the leading, receiver, if you will. But no, far as I see, he's not being picked up. And I think hopefully the Giants aren't completely moving on, but obviously, if Bachman gets an opportunity, he's going to have to take it. So,
Yeah.
as long as it's not Dallas, he won't be dead to me. If he goes to Dallas, he's dead to me, completely dead. If he goes to Philly, he's only halfway dead. So, to me.
Yeah, there's been a lot of movement I'm seeing around the NFL, even including the Eagles, what they're signing from the Saints?
Yeah, you did a trade with the Saints, Jamie?
Yes, we did a big trade for he's going to probably be our starting safety. He is the name is just escaping me right this second.
Yep.
I should be a little
It's
bit
on
more
the tip
prepared,
of my tongue too.
but I'm sitting here and I'm watching us that there was a show that we weren't sure whether it was going to come on or not today on Roku, and it came on. So like it just bumped us off. So I switched us up real fast. So sorry, I wound up in the process. But anyways, he's going to be our starting safety. He's actually he's gotten, I think he's had started 30 games, 161 tackles, 3 interceptions, 28 deflected passes. So should be something worthwhile moving on. We also got rid of Jalen Reagor today for, a couple of picks that could de-escalate. So if he stinks there, then the picks will get worse, which I've never heard of before, but I find that interesting.
So now, to be honest, Jamie, and I want to ask you this.
But the first thing I got to see is that it's possible that Jason Peters, they're saying they're bringing Jason Peters into your camp in Dallas. Talking about people being dead. That would be dead to me.
Oh, okay. Okay. So it's fair to say that as an Eagles fan, you have high expectations for this year, correct?
My expectations haven't changed. I feel more confident now in the choices, and the decisions that I've made. Saying that I think that the Eagles are going to go 11-6. They could go as high as 13-4, but a lot would have to happen correctly for that to really be the case. So I can't guarantee that that's going to happen, but I do think that we go. I do think that that's going to be the best record in the East.
Well, my question for you is: did you happen to see the TikTok that I did?
Which one?
The one where you said that the Eagles are going to make the NFC Championship?
Actually, I'll be honest with you, Sneaky. Every time you want to show that guy, I'm not going to pay attention. So every time you show that picture, I'm not going to pay attention. And that's realistically,
fine. That's what and that's fine. I mean, if you think that's going to stop me from showing that guy, no.
Well, no, but I know that you have that. Okay, I'm just not going to feed into your fetish with that type of stuff.
I don't have a fetish. I don't even know why the guy ate horse shit in the first place. It baffles my, and the fact that his friends cheered him on. That's another thing that blows my mind. And the fact that I keep showing it over and over again, and it gets under your skin, it's working. Because that's what it's supposed to do. It doesn't get under my skin.
I don't pay attention to it.
Exactly.
So if you show it, it dismisses everything else that you might have said. Well, but if it's something worthwhile, but again, when you got to continue to go with this
action right there, that action right there does exactly what I want it to do. And that's exactly what I want.
Which means that it takes you away from my page because I don't look at your content anymore.
And that's fine. And that's fine. And why?
That's a bummer. That's a real bummer, ain't it? I mean, we're in this to show content, but you keep going back to the same well over and over and over again.
Because the well never goes dry. That's why. That's why I keep showing that. So now, because I believe, and the reason why I showed that picture was because you were talking some mess. That's the only reason why I showed that picture.
Yeah,
and the mess that I was saying is that
and ultimately, all I was saying is that we're putting the. And what I said, correct?
Yeah, you did on my end. You broke up a little bit. Yeah, you said that you guys were going to the NFC Championship game. So then I proposed a bet, and I also said, don't say the beard because that's not going to happen. Don't do a cop out. Okay, let's bet a hat, and I got the 2 hats right here. If your team makes it to the NFC Championship game, makes it. They don't have to win it because you just said make it. That's all you
Yes,
said.
I don't think they will win it, to be honest.
But
I
you
mean,
did
right
say,
now, right at this second, that's what I think. I think that they could take a pretty big jump in the playoffs and that they could make the NFC Championship game.
and that would be the bet right there.
Yeah, but I want odds on that then. I absolutely want odds.
What do you mean you want odds? You said it. I'm
I
just
know what
confirming
I
what you
said.
said.
I know what I
Okay.
said, but I also understand gambling. And if you want to only give me it's I get to the NFC Championship game or nothing, well then of course I want odds on that because I'm a real gambler if we're going to gamble. So yes, I would definitely not only would I want a whole bunch of other stuff, you know what I mean? Like I said, you'd have to give me odds. I'm not just going to bet a hat. That's it. Come on now. Come on now. That's ridiculous.
That's what
like
the bet
saying,
is.
well, see, that doesn't make any sense for me to make that bet.
Well, so then, and then again, for me, if for you not to take a simple bet of saying of what you said your team making the NFC Championship game, in my mind, I'm thinking you don't believe that your team will make the NFC Championship game.
No,
because you won't take it's a simple bet.
I'm not
it's
betting.
It's a simple gentleman's bet. That's all it is.
It's not a gentleman's bet. You are saying, okay, I'm going to bet you $10 they don't make it. Okay, it's like saying
actually it's 25. The hat's 25. To be fair.
All right, so there you go, $25. It's $25 that they don't make it.
Either they make it or they don't.
I would bet the $25 if I was to make a $25 bet right now on any site that the Eagles were going to make the NFC Championship game. I probably win back about $150 to $200.
But see,
correct?
you're dealing.
Correct.
Yeah,
that's what I would. That's what that will.
I don't know. I guess so. But see, that's what you're talking. You're talking about Vegas and all that. You're making a bet with a father of 3 that has 2 kids in college, and that's paying football.
And I've got 2
things
kids.
with it. And so I know, but I'm just saying.
You think this house is?
I do like that piano in the back, by the way. I do like that piano.
Yeah, that was a lot of money. It was a lot of money to get that.
Yeah, I do like that piano. But all I'm saying, like I said, $25 to me. That's like $5,000. That's what $25 is to me in this household. So yes, that's why I'm saying it's a simple yes or no.
I don't want to put finances on it. What I want you to do is put on a green hula skirt and do a little hula dance and sing the song and remove the picture from your computers.
I like the hat better.
Of course you do.
I like the hat better.
Of course you do. But I stayed away from the beard. You putting on a green hula skirt, like a grass hula skirt.
Yeah, but see, the thing is, it's the hat.
Having to do the Eagles
fight song and the thing is, I'm not even going to counter saying this is what I like for you to do because I'm going to stick to my word and say that I don't think you believe your team is going to make it to the NFC Championship game. That's what I'm saying.
And that's your opinion. That's the perfect thing about America is that you can believe that. You can believe whatever you like.
Well, I mean, in a sense, because you're not taking that back. So true. If you believed your team, I'm gonna throw you. Oh yes, I'm throwing. You can't be quiet forever. True. I'm gonna throw you in this mix.
Oh, I'm fine.
If you were strongly about your team that you're gonna make a run for the NFC Championship game, you would take a simple bet, a simple gentleman's agreement.
Actually, that's one thing I don't do is I don't gamble on my team. I don't bet on my team.
Oh, that's right. You're a Cowboys fan. It's been. I wouldn't either if I were you. I wouldn't either.
I just don't do that for the simple task is I'm a fan of my team and that's it. I will not gamble. I will not bet. I will not place any lines on them.
Well, that's the difference though. Gambling and betting, it's okay. It's the same word, but it's different because we're amongst friends here. We're not like gambling thousands or hundreds or even maybe tens of dollars, right? But it's simple. It's simple.
Well, I get it. I'm not one to partake in any of that.
So and really all it is like, and what I'm saying is that you can't expect anybody to say, okay, like if you were to say, hey, listen, we'll make the bet at over 10.5 wins. So I get 11 wins or don't get 11 wins, then that in itself is a better bet. You are saying, I mean, there could be a lot of things that happened.
Agreed.
They could get to 2 rounds of the playoffs. It would be a very successful season by crushing it and doing whatever. And some fluke thing happened in that one game, and they don't make it to the NFC Championship game. You know what I mean? And that's very feasible. So can I foresee that? No, I can't foresee that one play. But if I made a bet on that, if I bet $10, my luck likely that I would probably win $125. That's what my thought would be.
Well, that's because you have multiple people betting on the same thing or whatnot. Now, again,
No,
that's
it's just me making the bet saying that, hey, I got to get to the NFC Championship game. You're talking about getting to the Final Four in football, and I think that they're going to do it. Does that mean if I'm going to gamble on it, I want odds?
So it kind of goes along with what I say with my team, like with the Giants. I always say we're going 17-0, right? But I won't bet on that. And I make that known right up front because damn well everybody and their mom be like, you want to make a bet? You want to make a bet? And then of course, if I say no, I get called out on it. So, so now I'll change the subject real quick.
I have, if you don't mind, before we do this.
Oh, go ahead.
I'm going to start this off real quickly. This gentleman who I'm about to bring on, was just inducted into the Texas Sports Hall of Fame, and I wanted to congratulate him. He sent a whole bunch of pictures. Him, Eric Dickerson, and George Foreman all were inducted this past week. Our own Byron Williams.
What's up, Byron? Congratulations, man.
What's up, guys?
What's going on?
Man, I tell you what, life is great. Hey, you know what? I'm happy because football is getting ready to get kicked off.
There you go. Congrats on the on getting in there, bud.
Yeah. It's basically just hanging out with the right people, like I'm hanging out with you guys. Good things happen.
If you could, I guess explain to us like the process of it. I mean, was there any campaigning? I mean, of course they know who you are and what you've accomplished, but I guess what's the process?
Well, it was actually 4 years ago. It's the Texas Black Sports Hall of Fame. If you grew up in Texas and you mostly Texas rooted guys get inducted into it, and they have a big museum over in Dallas at the Fair Park, and your picture and everything is always in there. Every year they have different classes of guys go in there. I think last year Michael Irvin went in. But if you do community activities, give back. Of course, George Foreman and Eric Dickerson and those guys speak for themselves. It's just I just do what I do. I do a lot of things in the community with kids. Been doing football camps, going to schools, helping the needies, playing in a lot of tournaments, helping supporting nonprofits, things like that. And then, of course, I've been in the leadership part of the NFLPA now for over 13 years, helping former players and helping them navigate their livelihood, as well as helping them with the healthcare issues and anything related to, restructured surgeries and hip replacements and things like that. Right. I've been very active and engaged in those type of activities.
Well, that's what I'm talking. Congratulations. That's a big deal. Right. That's a big deal.
That's a good lineup right there of what you just said.
And of course, lately I've been coaching Jeffcoat, so.
From what I understand, though, that he has been doing much better at golfing than you have lately. That his golf swing is just amazing.
I tell you what, I'll take anybody to bet any day. If you want to bet on Jim versus me, I'll take you up on that.
See, and we were just talking about gambling. We were just talking about making bets.
Talking about that. So you were talking about the upcoming season. Now, of course, with our beloved Giants, are you surprised of? Well, let me change the question around a little bit. What cuts were you surprised that the Giants made this year?
Well, really, I wasn't surprised about cuts. I'm more surprised about how the team gonna buy into the new coaches and the new structure and the style of play that they should be playing. I think they'll make drastic improvement. I think it's a 3-part thing that you have to stay focused on. It's the offensive component, it's a special team component, and a defense component. And those things have to fit into the vision of the team. And of course, Brian Daboll is doing a great job. I think he came in and got the mindset of the players on the right path. And I like that. But for his players, there's always going to be about 15 to 20 players that you got to have interchangeable parts. And then, of course, the injuries and things like that is a consistent factor that happened throughout the year. But one of the things too, the Giants' problem was leadership. Who's their leaders? Who is it in the locker room that's gonna speak out and speak up and make sure everybody's getting what they need to get? And that goes a long way. And they lost 4 or 5 games because they didn't have that last year. So I just think if they can get some of that type of intangible consistency back into that locker room, then I think they have a better chance. And they was in almost every game last year.
Yes, yeah, and I'm glad you brought up the leadership role. I know on the offensive side of the ball, the elected captains were Jones, Barkley, and Thomas. Defensive side of the ball, I know Xavier McKinney, Leonard Williams, and I can't think of
Martinez. Did he make
it? No, Blake didn't get it. I don't think. I'll have to double check. I know Gano for special teams. And Love, he was the one that got most of the votes. Apparently, what DeBall said got the votes on defense and offense, so they made him a coach or a captain as well. Yeah, I'm buying into this system. I mean, I think right now we have no choice as a Giants fan. We can only come up from here.
That's exactly what I was thinking. I'm like, well, you ain't got a choice.
We ain't got a choice. We got to come up from here.
I do want to say this. I thought it was you could tell that the Jets had to win the game. They did everything in their power to win it. They wanted to win the game.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought that was, that's what the Jets do. They want to win the game. But I thought the Giants played a much better game than the Jets, and they should have won that last game. But it doesn't matter. Preseason doesn't matter no way. But my point is, you have to have momentum going into the season. And I think that's what the Jets were playing for. They were playing for the momentum going into the season, and that's the only thing that I saw in this last week game. But I thought the Giants played really well. I saw some things that they're doing that going to help them along the way. So that's what I was happy to see.
I saw a lot of improvements.
But if that was the case, wouldn't Baltimore be like Super Bowl champions every year?
Baltimore got a formula, and I think the formula is working for them in preseason. That's what I like about Baltimore.
Yeah, but so the funny thing is, when we beat the Patriots in the preseason at work, somebody came up to me and like, "Congratulations, I beat the Patriots." You do know it's preseason, right? It doesn't matter. It does even when the Cowboys lost to what was it, the Broncos,
right?
People come in, you're happy that they lost. That's preseason. But next week, for moving forward, I can't wait. I mean, I understand why you're probably shaking your head. I mean, a win is a win. I get it, but
I 100% agree with you. I never pay attention to preseason.
Right.
I mean, somebody like I started to get, the haters always love talking to me. They love talking to me. And I had a whole bunch of people come on and say, about Dolphins kicking your butt. I'm like, do you think
I saw that
they care? Do we care? Do I care even the slightest bit? Like, not even the slightest bit.
I'm not
come
gonna
on
lie.
now. Yeah, you guys can care about winning that game, and that's awesome. I appreciate that. I'm gonna record and watch over and over again Michael Irvin talk about how the Eagles are going to be a dynasty. That's exactly what I'm going to listen to over and over and over and over again.
Well, one of the things you can go back throughout the history of the game and see how many people who played real well in the preseason won the Super Bowl.
Yeah, not that many.
Yeah. That just goes to show you the preseason game is not meant for and it don't gauge anything or predict anything for the season goes. It doesn't.
No, The one thing I am going to say about the preseason though is you're able to maybe find that diamond in the rough with the player, and that's exactly
Victor
what
Cruz.
we
You
found
can find
out.
that Victor Cruz.
Yeah.
Yeah,
exactly.
We just we didn't discover, but he was USFL, but Turpin on kick returns. You see him coming up through the ranks, and he's a Texas kid as well. So that's the one thing I do like watching about preseason is seeing the discoveries that are made between players.
That's exactly right. That's a good point.
I mean, and that's another thing about the preseason, kind of adding on to what you said, TruBlu, is the only way that you're going to understand situational awareness or game time situational awareness is if you're in the game.
Yep.
And Byron, I mentioned Hard Knocks with Detroit this year. The fact that, the way HBO puts on that type of show, it makes you root for those players. It makes you root for those guys to make the team. I'm thinking of the quarterback for Detroit. I don't know if anybody has been watching that show. It emphasizes on every down is important. Every down counts. You have an opportunity. You need to make that opportunity. And to root on a player and to see him be successful throughout and still not make the team. That's crazy. I mean, I don't know if he made the team or not. I'm actually alluding to Davis Webb, how he had an outstanding preseason, but he still didn't make the 53-man roster. I mean, and then Alex Bachman. I mean, the man went off. He didn't get as many receptions against the Jets, but just the way he played and the way Davis played and still not make the 53-man roster, it's one of those tough choices that I'm glad I'm not Dable or Joe Shane.
Well, Dan Campbell said, this is the hardest part of coaching.
Yeah.
When you have to make the 53-man roster, when you have to make the changes. But another thing about that, you also find out the true texture of the players that you have on your team. If they're going to be able to fold up under pressure or what.
Right.
And that was one of the things that he kept saying. He said, this guy will make the team, or this guy is still on that line of not making it. And that's one thing. And another thing, too, that I like about preseason, when guys come out of college, they really see the true meaning of playing in the National Football League. It's a whole different level. The speed of the game and everything else, and the consistency of making sure that you're on the right, you're not messing up on your assignments. Drop balls. Every drop ball is a key factor. Little things like that. That's where you find out really if you really made for football.
Yeah, and that's leading more into that. Seeing this preseason, the players on the sideline not knowing when to go in, during the rotation.
Right.
I mean, there's players out there that actually got cut because they weren't paying attention to what was going on the sideline to know when they needed to go in. So it's every bit as important to make sure to know when you're going to go in as, your assignment on the field. Because if a coach has to look at you twice, I can be wrong, but if he looks at you twice, it's one too many times.
I know. I see the time or two when a guy supposed to be out on the punt team and he didn't get out there. And
exactly
man, coach shaking his head. They don't let him back out on the field. Guess what? He's gone. He's out. He know he's cut. You got to know your assignments. You got to know what team you're on. You got to know the depth chart. If somebody went down, I mean, every little intimate part of the game, you better know.
Yeah. And
I got to figure. I don't mean to cut you off. I got to figure that is probably the most important thing. That's what you're there to figure out and know. You better know all that stuff, because if you pay attention to those details and don't ever have that problem, they will trust you with bigger details.
Yep. And a prime example of that is none other than Terrell Davis from the Broncos, who was on the special teams, who was making those hits during preseason, who got elevated up. And look where he's at today in the Hall of Fame.
Hall of Fame. And I coach a kid that played with Cleveland this year. He was the defensive MVP of the USFL. His name is Chris Odom. His dad and I are best friend. We coached him all the way up. And he went into the game, this Cleveland Brown game this last week. In the third play of the game, he tore his ACL.
Oh.
And he was the defensive player at the USFL, and they put him on injured reserve. But my point is, That's how this game is. It's a small, it's a small tweak here, small tweak there from being and not being a part of a team or being injured, having an opportunity. So, I tell guys, you really got to count your blessings if you get an opportunity to play in the National Football League.
So
Yep.
Byron, you've been in this process where of course you played with the Giants and you were on the team, and the next day you realized somebody was gone, right? They were cut. Now, have you ever been in a situation where you got close to someone, a teammate that you wanted to help, bring up, show the ropes, and then, next thing you know it, he's gone. And of course, I'm not trying to age you. This is before cell phones and before all that, so for them to say, hey, I didn't make it. Thank you for everything, blah, blah, blah. Have you had those kind of friendships?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
And was it tough? I know that's a silly question, but I just want to hear your point of view of it.
I think it's really tough for the player because you know what they're going through. You've seen it. You've seen it time and time again. It's a part of the game, and some guys can take it harder than other guys.
Right.
And so it's a level of maturity. It's also a level of you knowing who you are. But some guys can take it well. Some guys make the transition. Now some guys, it's hard on them. They want to they want to commit suicide. They think that this is all that they have. They've been fighting for this all their life. So it's really tough on a lot of guys. But the 53-man roster is something special, and you got to know every aspect of it. The good thing about this time in frame time is that you got 14 to 15 players on the practice roster.
Right.
You still can be around on that team. So that means that there's about 70 guys. You start off with 90. That's still about 70 guys can be a part of the team. But it's a revolving door when you're on that practice roster too, because injuries come into effect, and you bring in every week. Teams bring certain players to their organization, and they look at them on a Tuesday. Tuesday is the day off for all the NFL players, but not for the personnel and not for people that's injured. Replace a player or add a player to the roster. That Tuesday is that day that's designated to fill those gaps. And so they have this board of players, a pool of players that they're all constantly looking at, and they're calling you all throughout the week and say, we might want to fly you in Sunday. You'd be surprised what's going on behind the scene because it's a big business, but the business work, and they've been consistently proven the way they use their pool of players versus injuries, things like that happen during the season. So they got last year they had a pool of players that I think they stayed in Indianapolis because of the COVID situation, and they kept these players in shape and they kept them isolated so they won't get the COVID situation. So they would go into Indianapolis and get these pool of players. All 32 teams was able to do that. So there's a lot of things that goes on behind the scene that a lot of people don't know.
Yeah, and it goes in further than back from when you were playing to now. You can correct me if I'm wrong, but the evaluation process now involves a lot more coaching staff from what it was back then, and I think that plays a part into it because now you have these coaches that are. Certain you got the linebacker coach, you got the tight end coach, you've got all these different coaches that are evaluating the players and then putting them up there on the board, just like the draft process,
exactly,
to see who's going to stay and who's going to go. And I think it makes it that much harder on which 53 players are going to be staying and which ones are going to be placed on the practice squad.
It's TruBlu, you're exactly right. Because my first year, it was 28 teams. It was 48 men on the roster. And then I think in 86 or 7, they added the other 4 teams and they added it up to 53-man team. But back then, we didn't have an offensive guard coach, offensive tackle coach. So you got an offensive coordinator. So now you got the middle linebacker coach. You got outside linebacker coaches. You got safety coaches. You got cornerback coaches. You got all these different coaches. Now they don't split up. They done added some extra coaches to the personnel department, right? So now it's more specialized. It's more tweaking. And more it's specific in detail on everything and every aspect of the game. So you're actually right. They used to just have one special team coach. Now they got multiple special team coaches. You got the punt, you got the kick, you got the return team, you got all these special coaches, and then it's more specific detail in every little thing that they do now.
Yeah, and to include on that, besides the coaching staff, is the AI that's being used on the players for, they're placing it on their pads. They're seeing the analytics of their speed, what they're doing, on the route, everything else, and that plays into it as well. And that's why, the kids that I'm seeing in high school and everything else, I'm saying you've got to make sure that you're listening to your coaches, regardless of your talent, because talent-wise, yeah, you can be a great player or a good player, but knowing what the coach is trying to coach you up to, that's where it leads to. Because you got to be in the right spot at the right time, regardless of the situation, and that's what makes you a better player. And that's why I'm saying AI now, artificial intelligence, is coming into this game so much more, and the coaching staff is starting to use that more. So, you've got, like we're saying, how many coaches? Now you've got the analytics placed in there. It's so much more now, and I think once the younger generation starts realizing that, it's going to come into play a lot more. And hopefully some teams, they start bumping up the roster as well, having more than 53 men on a starting squad.
I think they need to have 60 players, 60 people.
Yeah.
I think it'd be good, and it'd be so much better. But what I love about the game now is it's so driven that quickly they can tell you what was the best play the first half. The analytics and the report is automatically printed out. It's right there at your fingertip.
Yep.
So I'm glad you brought. So let me ask you something, Byron. Have you ever been to one of the Frisco Fighters, the indoor football game?
I hadn't been up to that, but I heard a lot. My daughter lives in Frisco, so I go up there quite a bit. But I heard it's exciting.
So it's an awesome experience. I definitely advise you to be. You'll see me. I'll be up front, right? But now, the reason why I bring this up at this level, at the level of arena football, they have. Of course, you see the tablets that are in the NFL and everything. They have that same type of technology for those players right there. And every game, I always go up to one of the defensive coordinators. He's already downloading and forwarding the information that they got from that game to the other coaching staff. And then he's also receiving information from the team that they're going to be watching film with the following week. With the information that's so instant nowadays,
right?
I can't even imagine. I remember when I coached high school football, I had to drive an hour to go swap tapes.
Right.
You don't do that now.
Mm-mm.
It's instant. It is instant, and it's crazy. It's crazy.
And I'm a part of a group right now. We got an armband that you can download the whole playbook. We can get the play out there in less than 2 seconds, and you ain't even got to get in the huddle. So I'm excited about technology and the way this game gonna change, and gonna change the concept. So we're gonna probably get up to 100 plays a game with technology and the improvement of technology.
That's crazy.
So fun question. Do you remember your favorite play and what was it?
Good question.
When QB called it in.
Hey, my favorite play go probably be pro right 53 semi X go. That means I'm going.
Just going.
Go. I want it deep. I love deep routes. I average almost 20 yards a catch in my little stats I got in the NFL. But I used to love deep balls, man. I used to love deep balls.
There you go.
I'm gonna put you on the spot this one time. I normally don't like doing this, but I gotta do it. When I overthrow a wide receiver, okay, or when I have a receiver doing a dig, I play quarterback, right? And I'm still a quarterback. Once quarterback, always quarterback. I want
to right now cut you off and say a dig is a 16-yard in cut, everybody.
Yes, yeah. Thank you.
You're going across the middle.
See, this is quarterback wide receiver talk right here, okay? Or even a post out. A post out is where you go out and you hit the flags, right?
Yeah.
So post corner. So if I overthrow you, okay, I always say, my bad. I got you. I owe you one, right?
Right.
And if a receiver drops one, what do you say?
My bad. I got to get the next one.
Yep, and I owe you one too, right?
Right.
Did Phil Simms ever say my bad?
He hardly ever said my bad. Hey, I talked to Phil Simms. I said, Phil Simms, you don't know who you talking. He didn't know who was talking to. So I said, Phil Simms, I was the #1 receiver. The first game you threw over your first game over 400 yards in the game. I was the #1. I had 167 of those yards. And I had to remind him who I was. He said, Byron, I'll never forget it from now on. I'll never forget it. So, of course, he had a lot more memory than I had, but I had to let him know. His first game over 400 yards, I was the #1 receiver in that game.
Yeah, and that's him doing his own dig.
Yeah, I had to ask that. Because Phil Simms, that's my guy. That's my guy. Growing up, I studied his 3-step, all that stuff, and I wear number 11 because of him and all that. So,
man, we had a good conversation this year. I spoke to him. I asked him that if he could come in and do a quarterback camp in some of the places that I go for doing football camps, and we had talked about it. I know his son is running those quarterback camps.
Yes.
But Phil Simms, he always have been the same. So the good thing about Phil Simms and Lawrence Taylor is they had special seats on all our flights when we go out of town. So so some of the young guys had to learn that. It was a couple of seats on that plane. Nobody get those seats. Because
right.
Phil Simms and Lawrence Taylor had to be across from each other. They be playing poker and all that type of stuff. But it's fun when the rookie be on our team and they don't know, they don't know the gist of everything that's going on. There's certain things that you don't do. So it was fun just to hear.
Do you school that rookie, or you let him find out the hard way?
Let him find out the hard way.
You don't want to lead him anywhere.
You just look at him and shake your head. You be like, bro, you just don't know.
A second, because I want to bring on the other half of the J&B Talking Shop here. 2-time Super Bowl champion, Jim Jeffcoat. What's up, Jim?
Good evening, fellas. Good evening.
What's going on, Jim? How you doing?
All right. How are you doing?
Doing good.
Jeffcoat.
Hey, Jim, I almost wore a gray shirt.
Yeah, you always do try to copy me. It's the normal Giants thing.
So welcome, Jim. Welcome, Jim, over there. I had this whole big thing for Byron. I only get to say that you just won 2 Super Bowls. Yeah, so that was a long time ago. But I was touting your golf game.
Hey, I'm not where Byron's at right now. But
I want them to bet on you. I want them to bet on you.
Byron's trying to take our money already. He's like, hey, yeah, Jim is better than us. Yeah, he's better than me. Yeah, go right ahead. Yeah.
He's got me right now, but not for long. Not for long.
I'll just stay back in the driving lane.
All I know is I'd rather be a guy that run across the middle, not a guy that's on the bottom of the pile.
Well, listen, it doesn't matter. Jack isn't here to ask those questions.
But you just answered my question. You'd rather not be on the bottom of a pile. I said that. Run across the middle, shoot. All you get is a broken jaw, but that'll heal. You might not have kids at the bottom of a pile.
Didn't that happen to you, Byron? Didn't that happen to you? I think.
No, he's got kids.
So, Jim,
yes,
I got to ask you a quick question. I asked Byron this earlier in the show. So, with the cuts being made, the 53-man roster, and I do know that the Cowboys made some moves today. Are you surprised by any cuts that were made by a certain player that outshined himself?
Because it's all about posturing yourself for the season. Like, I mean, you're going to have a long snapper and a kicker, right?
Right.
So they're just posturing. They need to put Tyron Smith and James Washington on injured reserve in a couple of days, so they could have the possibility of coming back. And there's other moves they have to make because they got 3 guys that are going to play in the first game. That are the Goodwin kid, He's going to play. He's a special teams guy. Mayer and the long snapper, they're going to be on the first game. They're just posturing and making moves. Every team is doing it, and
Right.
Except Philly because they're the greatest team since.
They're going to win the Super Bowl this year.
So, well, then hold on. Let me ask you then, since you want to go bring it up like that, one of your coworkers come right out and said that the Eagles are on the precipice of a dynasty.
Oh my God!
I don't even think Michael Irvin can spell precipice.
Well, I know I can't.
I know I can't.
I'm ad-libbing.
There will not be dynasties in this day and time because.
But one of the things I can say, I respect Michael Irvin's opinion because he was a wide receiver.
That's obvious.
So how do you guys feel? I mean,
he's got brain damage just like you for running over the middle, right?
Both of you guys, I mean, you guys are Cowboys fans. He even said that it was sacrilege that he's saying it.
It is. It really is. But you have to be honest. The Eagles are going to be very upset because they do have the best talent in the NFC East right now. But
one thing I can say, I've been looking at the practices, and for us, based off the NFC East practices and some of the things that they do, the Eagles they're in best position right now to win the NFC East.
Yeah, because they have the best offensive line.
Yeah,
no question. And the receivers
and defensive line.
Yeah, they're good, but the offensive line. But it's going to boil down to coaching.
Yeah,
and I think that's where the issue is going to be at.
That's true.
Hold on. So you think that the issue is going to be our coaching in comparison to Dallas's coach?
Yes.
Well, I'm glad.
I hope that they never fire him. I hope they never fire him.
I'm glad you brought that up.
I want him to be the coach for all time.
I'm glad you brought that up. So
the best coach in the NFC East is in New York.
Thank you.
Yeah, Dallas goes to New York, and McCartney will be in New York. So
no, he won't. No. And I'm glad you brought that up, Philly. So let me ask you guys this, or actually True and Jim Jeffcoat. The issue last year with the Dallas Cowboys was penalties. Yes. The issue right now during the preseason is still penalties. Yeah. Now, at what point? Now, I know McCarthy is the head coach, and I know the buck stops there. But at what point do we put the onus on the players? Like, how much of accountability can penalties be put on the coach?
But you say these things, but they still won the NFC East with all these penalties.
Because the NFC East was weak last year. Let's be
now
real.
It's weak.
Let's be real. And we're going to be improved this year. Yeah, I mean, we
the coaching.
But you're right on that. If they will not go farther in the playoffs unless they correct some of those penalties. You're exactly correct.
And Jerry Jones did put that team on notice.
Yeah.
He did put them on notice. So if McCarthy does not win at least one playoff game, I think we're going to see some changes.
Well, I think this will be in year 3. I think, there's going to be a lot of decisions made based upon this year on the coaching staff. But going to the penalties, yes, the players do have to take accountability, but it's the coaching that must be beaten into them to say, hey, guys, either you're going to play football or you're going to have penalties and you're going to be off this team. And I think that's ultimately what it's going to come down to. Now, most of our penalties are offensive-wise. I understand we had a couple of holding on the secondary, a couple of personal fouls for late hits or hitting the QB. But most of our penalties are coming on the offensive side, and that's what the new lineup of offensive line. So coaching is going to have to be beaten into these guys just a little bit more.
But the players have to be correct. Like everybody's saying, they have to be accountable.
Yep.
You have to be able to regulate yourself or take care of yourself and know that these situations are going to get you in trouble.
Yep.
If you're getting penalties, and you can't have that.
Now,
because Tyler Smith, the rookie, he was a left tackle, and he had issues with holding.
Yep.
And it's not going to fly in the NFL.
Nope.
They're going to get it.
And let me and a stat that is a crazy stat. that Zach Martin has been to more Pro Bowls than he has had offensive holding.
Exactly.
He's
Seven.
had
He had
7 Pro
seven
Bowls,
holding penalties.
6 holding penalties in the past years.
Yeah, and I agree with you on some of truth is that I think some of the coaching, I don't know how good the offensive line coach is, and that's an issue.
Yep.
Yeah, I really don't know, and how much he demands it.
So
He
let
didn't
me
have
ask that question, because that's the question that I immediately think about is that. So I was watching something that must have been like a minute-long video of Eli Manning and Coughlin talking. Actually, it was Eli going over some of his old film from when Coughlin was playing. Talking about how penalties were like bad and stuff like that, and how Coughlin was like yelling and screaming about how legal procedure is what lost them the game, that penalty lost them the game. And what do coaches do to be able to stop the penalties from happening? Obviously, last year, whatever McCarthy was doing didn't work.
That's true.
They had penalties all the time. So what are they going to do as coaches? What do coaches do to be able to try to hit the nail home that you can't be doing the same things over and over and over again and thinking they're not going to get called?
That's why you pay those referees to come to practice. I'm serious. That's why you pay them.
Yep.
And we had referees in the practice, and people made them call those penalties. They called it probably harder than they did in the game. Plus, what you can do is you can see how coach, and that's where I say coaching comes in, is you can see how referees call games. Some referees call more games, more holding or offsides or any kind of penalties than other crews. And you got to know your crew. Bill Parcells was great at that. He would tell you, okay, he would go in there on Monday and said, this is how this crew calls a game. We cannot have this. And it could be holding, it could be defensive pass interference, it could be various things. And that's the thing you have to do. Jimmy Johnson was a man. He'd come in there and say, hey, this certain referee, he calls this a little different than other referees. And that's the thing you got to do. A good coach is going to tell you what you're going to be able to get involved, what kind of crew you're going to be dealing with.
So I have two things.
Why the Cowboys had those 14 and 15 penalties at one game, because they specifically had that crew that called pass interference a lot. They had one crew that called pass interference 10, 12 times a game.
That's exactly right. Right.
So I have two things. So I understand like a holding call and offsides and false starts. I get that, because that's a human element, right? But when you have and also personal fouls and late hits, okay, those are obvious penalties. But when you have penalties that are subjective, like say a pass interference, because a pass interference looks different than on one ref than it does the other. So what you're telling me is that coaches have scouting reports not only on the team but also the referees of that week.
Crew with the referee, the crew. Yep. Because you got to know which each umpire or referee is calling, his position on the field and what he likes to call. Yep. So you got to know that as a player, so you understand I can only get away with certain things. Some games, I'd line up all sides because I knew that he wasn't going to call it anyway. So,
so that means you got 8
let me ask this.
That means you got 8 sacks too many.
But I got him. It's too late now.
It's in the books.
The crew.
No, but for real,
how often do you see the same crew?
It depends, because they pick crews, especially specifically for the playoffs. You might see them a couple times in 18 games. You might see them 2 or 3 times, maybe for a year.
But then what they do, though, they eliminate the bad crews is when the playoffs come, because every crew is rated after every game.
Exactly.
So when the playoff come, only the best crews get to continue to work in the National Football League.
No question. But during the season, though, every crew works, and some of them are not as up to par as others.
Yeah, exactly.
And not only that, I've seen the NFL disband crews as well. And last year was an example.
Yep.
Where
Some
they-
guys get
that
banned
is
for
true.
life. Some guys get banned. Yeah.
Hey, where's the Washington guy? Did he leave already?
Nah,
No,
he couldn't make it.
Oh,
He had
man.
a
I know. He
I'm
saw the
I'm
Cow.
trying
He
to see
saw
why.
three. He
I'm
saw
trying to see
two
why they
Cowboy
got me down
fans
here on this
here.
commando.
Because Byron was a Cowboy fan too. So.
I don't know why I'm down here on this commando banner. I'll tell you what. I should have went on put on a yellow shirt.
Now, there's one thing I may not know Byron, but I know Byron is not a Cowboys fan. I know that for a
He
fact.
grew up. Ask him. Did you grow up a Cowboys fan?
I grew up in Texas.
Did you grow up?
a Cowboys
Did you
fan?
grow up being a Giants fan, Jim? Did you grow up being a Giants fan? See, what happened was, go ahead.
Yes, I did. But then, when the Cowboys started paying my bills, I became a Cowboy fan.
For real though, when I went to the combine, I was on the plane with Tom Landry. He told Gilbrand to give me my first NFL football was from Tom Landry and Gilbrand. So I just admire those gentlemen. So yeah, I was a Cowboy fan, but I'm not a Cowboy fan now. But I admire the Cowboys for what they had early on, and they poured into me, and I was excited about it.
Wait till I get that picture of you when you were a kid and that cowboy helmet on. I still got that.
No, I didn't start Cowboy. Hey, Jim. I still got my football that Tom Landry and them gave me, so I'm gonna let you see that. I'm gonna you need to take a picture with that.
And
football.
your little helmet, yeah, your little helmet with the single bar and everything.
Yeah, I had the single bar, but you know what, Jim? I can outrun everybody on that field. I was a little fast guy. I tell you that.
So I asked Byron this question earlier because we were talking about the preseason and making the team and whatnot. With you, Jim, have you ever mentored a player or befriended a player that eventually got cut?
Yeah, I did. Everybody does.
And I know this may seem like a silly question, but I want your input on it. I mean, what kind of feeling is that, knowing that situation happened where you did what you could, but then maybe because you saw something in that player, but he still didn't make the roster. What feeling did that give you?
Disappointing. It's disappointing because you build relationships with guys that you play with, guys that you're involved with. You have the same likes and dislikes, and when they're not there, you hope they get picked up by someone else. You hope they have the opportunity to play in the NFL. And a lot of them had that opportunity, but some didn't. And that was the end of the road. But that's reality. No longer. It might be 1 year, but it also might be 15.
Right.
Sometimes you don't have any control over that, and that hurts. That hurts.
And I'm gonna now. This is a question for both you guys, and I know True and Philly can relate, and this is how I can relate too. So when I, in the workforce, I work, the typical 9 to 5, and there are some people in that office where I'm like, dang, you're still here? Like, I'm surprised you're still here. I mean, have you guys ever had that moment where you see a player and you're like, you made it?
Yeah.
You? Not him, but you made the roster? I mean, of course, don't give any names unless you want to. Speak upon that, if you don't mind.
Well, when I saw LT at the Giants, I always said, "You still here, LT?"
I'm glad you said LT and not Leonard, because I would clip this and send that right to him.
Leonard's my guy.
I know. That's why I said it. He's my guy too.
You don't really think about that. That's the decisions of the coaches. Wouldn't you agree, Byron?
Yeah, I agree with that. When you see the 53-man roster and everybody walking in the locker room, you just say, "Wow, man! I'm glad that you made it." You try to rally around the troops, and you just have to be positive about everything. And now your task is to win and try to make it to the Super Bowl. But it always be 1 or 2 surprises that make the team, though.
Oh yeah. I did something though. When I was when Leon Lett came, he was 7th round draft choice. and we knew he was going to make the team. He was really he did well in training camp. So the day of cuts, I took all his stuff out of his locker and put a note there to go see Coach Johnson.
Oh my God!
And he started sweating. He said, "What should I do, Jim?" I said, "Man, you go see Coach Johnson." So when he went to see him, I put all the stuff back at him. He did everything. And
you wrong for that.
Sat down, said he said he went in there. I had a note to say you'd come see you. He said, "What are you talking about?" I said, "Well, I'm getting cut, ain't I?" He said, "No, you made the team." He went back to his locker. Everything was in there.
Oh, that's great.
That's awesome.
Oh,
That's
you're wrong for that.
That was good right there, Jim.
Huh?
I said that was good.
Yeah.
Yeah, I got to imagine there's some of that hazing may have been a lot more deeper than it is now.
Interesting with the hazing, it was more if you talk too much, that's when you got hazed.
Mhm.
We had a kicker one time, and he had a big mouth, and Randy White tied him up to a goalpost and told nobody to touch him. So he was out there for hours. Nobody was going to mess with him because Randy White said, "Don't mess with him."
Don't mess
He
with
tied
him.
him up to the goalpost.
Oh.
That's
And this was
funny.
in training camp.
Funny thing do go on in that locker room.
Oh my
So
goodness.
when we have rookie nights, now that's a good night.
Oh yeah.
Rookie nights, we bring eggs and everything. We light them up. They be out there trying to sing and all that. Boy, we light them up.
I only had to sing once because I sang, I used the FBI is coming to town because they were having so much trouble with the players. They left me alone after that.
Hey, I sound so bad. They say, "We don't want your stanky ass up here no more." I was understand.
Yeah, I heard you say.
Know
We don't
when
want
to
you to
hold
say.
'em. Huh? That was
I
my
heard
song.
you before.
Hey, that was my song. I said, "You got to know when to hold them and know when to fold them." They say, "Get up off the stage."
So
Dog
with
from 2
eggs all
miles
at you.
away started barking.
So Jim, with that camaraderie, right, with the going back and forth, how different was it when Charles Haley got there?
Actually, it was good. Charles is people misunderstand.
Well, no, because I know he was a jokester. I know he was, right? And that's what I'm saying. Did he also add to that? I mean, did you have competition? That's what I'm trying to say.
Oh
Did
yeah,
you
you always have competition.
I'm saying competition as the prankster, not on the. I mean, of course, on the field.
Charles
but,
wasn't a prankster.
okay.
Charles wasn't really. He was funny because he's just crazy, but he wasn't a prankster. He might come in the room butt naked or something, but that's that's just Charles.
He's still doing that right now.
I know. That's just Charles. But no, Charles wasn't. We had other pranksters.
And let us welcome to the show, Charles. No, I'm sorry. I'm kidding.
I didn't worry about it. Me and Charles have a good understanding too.
Yeah, y'all have a special understanding.
Yeah, because he knows I'm from Jersey and what I'll do to him. And I know there's a lot of tributaries where bodies just kind of.
Hey, we were just together. We were together about 5 weeks ago, me and Charles and Jim. And we was over there.
Yes.
Charles hosted a football camp for some kids. And Charles, he just sat around now doing nothing. And he say, "Well, hell, let me get up and show you how to do this."
Well,
it's so funny.
I just bring it up because they had, of course, they had the episode with Charles where they, basically showed him his football life and how he would prank Troy Aikman a lot. So, and that's why I wanted to bring up, I guess by you doing that, also prank the Leon Lett. That's a great story, by the way. What are the things that he did? They said he did something to Troy. I can't remember what it was, but Troy was not too fond of it at first. But then Leon eventually grew onto him. Eventually, not Leon. I'm sorry, Haley. Yeah, Charles.
The one thing about Charles is Charles was a true team player. He would do anything to help the team win. He didn't care who got the credit, but he would work hard at it. And it was a different kind of humor. it was a different kind of humor with Charles. And you just got to know what kind of person it is. What the heck? D-Rock? D-Rock got a big eagle emblem and stuff?
That's right. So I tell you what, let's go. I got to take a quick commercial break, and let's come back. And then once we come back, let's change it up a little bit. Let's talk about this season and what we think is going to start to happen, because we are 8 days away from the NFL kickoff, and this may be the last time that we are combined group till at least the Eagles. When the Eagles come to Dallas, it's going to be Christmas Eve, so it's going to be real hard to do it then too. So, but let's go hit these quick commercial messages, and we'll be back talking about what the NFC East is going to look like. We'll be back just after these messages.
And welcome to the Everyday GSD podcast. Today's special guest. Welcome to the Military Podcast. A true everyday.
It's the demand of the job. It's the demand of anything. Success is based on participation. So I participate daily.
Yeah.
For those who don't know, it's Cold War era. Anybody wants to hear anything I have to say, but you and I have a lot of great conversations.
Everyday GSD is more than just a podcast. It's a movement. It's a way of life. The show's guests come from all walks of life and all have the same everyday get shit done mentality in common. Many are former military special operators who are now everyday GSDing in their civilian life. Others are civilians who get shit done on a daily basis. Veteran, prior military, the goal is to motivate and inspire through like-minded guests sharing epic life stories. Ultimately, what we want the audience to realize is every day is an opportunity to get up and get shit done. My name is Darren Bebo, and I everyday GSD.
This is Jonica, and I everyday GSD.
My name is Mike Rebell, and I everyday GSD.
This is Jeffrey Barnett, and I everyday GSD.
This is Wojo, and I everyday GSD.
This is Jake, and I everyday GSD.
My name is Hannah Gaber, and I everyday GSD.
This is Rachel, and I everyday GSD.
My name's Keith Dixon, and I everyday GSD.
My name's Kyle McCord, and I everyday GSD.
I mean, you can see right now without. All right, don't want to play. I mean, you can see right now without LeBron, Lakers are struggling.
Let me tell you about a team I hate, all right? I know the Dallas Cowboys fan is here, so I had to make sure he knew how much I hate this team.
I'm ready. I've often said that the people who run baseball, they try very hard to ruin it.
I'm from Brooklyn. I don't have a problem saying it to his face. Oh, from Brooklyn. Hey, get any.
All right, and we are back. Welcome back to the combined show of the NFC East show and J&B Talking Shop. And we got everybody minus the Washington guy, but we already know exactly where they stand in Washington. Yeah, that everything's falling apart there. The stadium, houses, all that stuff is happening today.
And all he says is, I hate the Cowboys.
That is exactly correct. He hates the Cowboys. But obviously, when I think about what's going to happen with the NFC East this year, I actually do not feel that Washington's going to do very well at all. I think that they have way too much drama that surrounds them. I think that the coach is, had the coach not how do I put this? Had he not gotten cancer, a couple of years ago, they don't think they would win the division.
Mm-hmm.
And that's as ridiculous as that sounds. I think that they were able to play for him a little bit stronger then. So that's not something you can fake, and that's like an emotional thing. I don't believe that they're going to be very good at all.
Well, what makes you think that? I mean, is it because Wentz is going to be there? The defense is lacking, poor offensive line?
I think it's a personal thing with Wentz, myself personally, but I do agree with him. Washington has got some issues, and it's just that now Brian Robinson unfortunately got shot, and they say
Shout out! I'm glad he's doing good though.
Young is not going to be ready for a couple of games.
Right.
Yeah.
So they have some issues there. They have not said anything about. I watched them against the Ravens, and we know the Ravens haven't lost a preseason game in 23 games. But they did
preseason champs. Yep.
Yeah, but they didn't look good. They didn't. They looked like they were in disarray. They might end up winning it, but I'd be shocked. They got a lot of issues at this point. And it doesn't seem like they have any leaders.
Right.
Anybody can take them, and that's the thing that I noticed about Washington.
You must have heard me talking about leaders tonight.
Huh?
You must have heard me talking about leaders.
No, I don't listen to you, but whatever.
The one thing I'll say that's a positive light on Washington is when, and I don't know if you guys have experienced this, Jim or Byron. Wentz was in an interview, and that interviewer he went in. He went all in. He said, people are saying that you're not doing good in preseason or training camp. You're not doing what you want to do. He was asking cringy questions. And even though, in my opinion, I think the reporter the reporter did his job because he asked the tough questions. And then Wentz did his job. He was very professional. He answered every question. He didn't get upset. He stayed composed. To his credit, I think if I'm going to give any props to the Commanders, it would be that interview and how Wentz handled that as a true professional.
Yeah.
Has that ever happened to you guys? I mean, has a reporter asked you some questions that you're like, I'm gonna knock you? You
do it. Everybody does that. They're trying to find that piece to write about. Mm-hmm. The best was Skip Bayless when he was in Dallas. He would try to push buttons on you, and he'd make up stuff.
And he still does.
I don't agree with Skip.
The thing in New York was you could say something and then you read it. It's not nothing that is close to what you said.
Exactly.
In their own word. That's the bad thing about it. But with Carson Wentz, I want to say about Carson Wentz, I'm thinking that he's gonna say the right thing. But when you go on the football field and perform, I think that's what football is all about. You can say one thing and do one thing, but it's all about being consistently, doing it the right way.
You're right. Actions speak louder.
Yeah.
Actions speak louder.
You're right.
And that's
right.
That's kind of what I feel. I feel like that he's not, that he hears it all. He hears it all, and that's the problem. He can't get around it and get away from it, and now he lives it.
Yeah.
Yeah. But here's another issue with him. He's going to have tough times. How is he going to react? Is he going to react like he did in Philadelphia? And is he going to react like he did in Indianapolis? Or is he going to truly change? That's the question you have to ask about Wentz. Because there's going to be some games that he has quite a few interceptions. We all know that. How is he going to react to it?
And let's not forget, I mean, it was a 2-game collapse when he was with the Colts. Yep. And he was the head coach was his guy. That was his coach that he had with when they won the Super Bowl. And he got there, and I guess that marriage didn't work out. I mean, after 1 year, and then that's where he's in the situation now. I'm rooting for the guy. I don't want anybody to fail.
No question.
Unless you're the Dallas Cowboys, but I'm rooting for him,
But you know what? I'm gonna say this. It's another thing too that was there, part of the coach problem, and that's Jim Irsay. And he's been a long time, and sometimes he can come in and mess up the room and the atmosphere in that whole environment. So I'm pretty sure Jim Irsay was part of the problem as well.
That's always a possibility.
I always thought he was more of a standoff owner.
Well, here,
I never thought he was hands on.
No, he's hands on. He's pretty hands on.
I think if you're an owner, that's what I'm beginning to realize, that if you're an owner of a football team, you're hands on. You own the football team.
Well, I mean, okay, I'm sorry.
A huge investment.
Yeah, when I mean hands off, I mean like Robert Kraft like type hands off. I don't know how much involved he gets.
You don't really know how
they got his
much
hands on him. The
involved
masseuses have their hands on him. Shoot.
Jim, allegedly.
Hey, and did you guys hear? I broke that story. I broke that story wide open. If you remember me talking about that, I don't know, Byron, if you were there or you heard me talk about it, but that and not with the whole thing. How that I think that is drama. That is absolute drama that happened between two owners, between Miami and New England.
Mm-hmm. That's
I'd have to go back into it again, but the owner of Miami set up. I think he set up Kraft. Absolutely believe that. Let me tell you,
Allegedly,
things to happen for there to be a sting right at the time, in the middle of the day, right at that time when what you call just happens to go into that establishment. It's got to get coordinated to have that all happen all that once, because
because they got the information from a burner phone, so
right. Can you imagine I don't even know the Dolphins owner's name. Ross. Okay, Ross telling Kraft be like, man, I got this kink in my back. Ross will be like, hey, I got the perfect place. Go see New Lane, and you can.
Robert Kraft is over there getting
He is en route.
Special.
If you saw the timeline, if you saw the timeline and you saw how everything occurred, it makes a lot of sense that it was gamesmanship, and this is an embarrassment.
Yeah.
That they are actually, this is billionaire gamesmanship.
You might be.
You know what? And I'm telling you, it took a minute. When you start to see the timeline, I'd have to go get my book and I'd have to explain to you the timeline. But when you start to see the timeline, I found this out because I did a podcast with the Dolphins fans. And we started talking back and forth about it. And then I'm saying I kind of think that this was because it got spawned by the fact that they were talking about the possibility of Brady going to the Raiders.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Heard about that. Yeah.
With Gronk. And that whole deal was set up. And I'm like, that deal was not set up. They were drinking together. They, it's what's his name is Dana White is a Raiders fan. So obviously it was like, okay, they're talking, they're drinking. It's Gronk, Brady, and Dana White all in the same room. And he's like, man, you should go to the Raiders, man. They're the best team, blah, blah, blah. And then Gronk is like, yeah, I'm game for it. Let's go. And then they call Gruden because, again, he's Dana White. He's a Raiders fan. He's probably got Gruden's number on speed dial. And he calls him up. They bull about it for a little while. And then, it comes out that, that Gruden finally is like, all right, I got to go. See you later. And hangs up the phone. I don't think there was anything brokered, but I think that Dana White allowed us to be a fly on the wall on one of the nights that they had out partying.
But did you hear Tom Brady talking about that on the barbershop?
No.
I didn't hear any of it.
Yes. So Brady even said, you're sticking with that, that effort? I know I'm better than him. Oh yeah, he actually talked about that scenario, how he ended up in Tampa on the LeBron James barbershop. If you have HBO Max, check it out. It's there. He says it loud and clear. And the whole time I'm wondering, what team is he talking about? And then it was just revealed that it was the Raiders. He could have easily been on the Raiders.
Yeah, but I think that part of the conversation was after Gruden was on the phone. I think Gruden got off the phone.
Yeah,
I don't think he said
because
that
it fell
out
through.
loud.
The whole deal fell through. Yeah.
Yeah, but I don't think there was a deal. There was no deal to really add. I think that they were drinking.
We don't know.
Yeah, that's what I'm getting at. I think that they were drinking, and then when they thought about it a little bit, they're like, "You're gonna stick with that guy over me?" Yeah. Wrong answer. You know what I mean? And that's funny. That's funny. But I think again that they allowed us to be a fly on the wall.
Yeah.
For a day in their life.
Yeah.
Which is really what that was. That was a fun story to kind of hear about and talk about. But realistically, that was never going to happen because just it was impossible for it to happen.
And I also heard that Ross, the Miami owner, he gave Kraft a Groupon. That's the only reason why he went to the parlor to get that. He had a Groupon. You know?
But beyond that, I mean, they also made a trade between the two of them, and Ross gave him like a player, like for like a ridiculous pick. It was a ridiculous trade, all Patriots way, which I thought was compensation.
Mm-hmm.
Oh,
that's what I mean. It looks like a compensation.
So
for,
really,
hey,
what this was what I did to Leon Lett. It was just a little bit different.
Exactly. That's exactly what I'm talking about. I think so. I mean, it sounds ridiculous, but like I said, the coordination it takes to actually have a sting put together at the exact moment in time that Robert Kraft goes in there, I don't believe in that big of a coincidence.
Yeah.
There's no big it's not way too big of a coincidence.
Right.
So,
Well, the question asked, was that the first day of the sting, the second? I mean, you got to look at the variables because it could have been a 7-day period where they were checking in, and he happened to come in on a Wednesday, to check out the coupon, see if it worked.
They went in and raided the place while he was there. That's what happens.
Well, if they raided, then they had to have been checking that spot out for a minute.
Yeah, that's what I was getting at. I was in Miami during the Super Bowl during that time, and it's funny because I was with a couple of friends, and they go, "Let's go drive by that area," and then they showed me the area, and they said, "Yeah, I could see why this happened."
It's because it's in a sketchy area. I mean, well, then there you go.
Yeah, you look left and right. There's nothing.
But I'm not saying you're not wrong, though, Philly. I'm not saying you're not wrong.
That's absolutely. I mean, that's why it happened. It's like I got you, and I mean, think about you don't think a $20,000 donation to the and I'm not saying like whatever, but I'm saying you give a donation to that police force of a decent amount, and you know what? They're going to go raid the place because it's easier for them to know. All you got to do is have somebody on the inside. I mean, these guys are billionaires. They know what each other's doing.
See, that's how the story. And then Robert Kraft one-upmanship him with the Tom Brady stuff and the Sean Payton.
That's exactly correct.
Oh yeah, that's right.
And that's the timeline.
It all comes full circle.
Yeah, and ultimately, like I said, and then there comes that trade that this is all going on, and they're like, all right, we'll call truce here. I'm going to do this for you to call the truce. I mean, but this is a real thing. I think this is a real billion-dollar gamesmanship here, and that's not something that you see every day, and you don't ever put it together because all those stories separately are no big deal.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's just, but that's exactly what happened here. Belichick texting the wrong guy. Come on now. Come on now. There's no way. There's no way. Oh, I texted the wrong Brian.
Well, to be fair, wait, time out. In Belichick's defense, when that incident happened, I looked at my phone and I have 4 Brians with no last name initial.
Yeah,
I'm going to be honest.
I don't care about that. First off, that's you, and we're talking about Bill Belichick.
Who says Bill Belichick doesn't have the same practice, though? I mean,
because you deal with systems. There's no way. There's absolutely no way that Bill Belichick, that wasn't a planned situation. That whole situation, that's what spawned the entire investigation. That text message spawned a tremendous amount of things in motion to make all this occur, and all of which are headed towards Miami. That the coach did this a certain way, and this did this a certain way. That you're going to tell me that that Kraft didn't find out that this was on Ross. That's the reason why he got him back. Because all he did was get embarrassed.
Yeah.
It didn't cost him a little bit. It cost him a few minutes of time and an embarrassment. That's all it was. There wasn't even a fine, really. It was like $59 was the fine. So it was like so ridiculous in every stretch of the imagination. But that specifically happening, that is all gamesmanship between the two of them.
So I'm gonna be devil's advocate about Belichick, and I'm saying that because this is experience. Okay, how many times have, say, my wife called me, or let's say my wife texted me, then I got a call from a friend of mine, and then I remember I had to call my wife back real quick to get some more information, and I accidentally called my friend, or I accidentally text my friend because that was the last text. And there's a lot of variables here. Like I said, you may be right.
It depends. If your friend was a woman, you got problems, brother. But
well, I mean,
if it was a guy,
it's in the name.
right. You're all right. You can say, "Hey, I made a mistake."
I was asking my friend about a Groupon, about a massage part, because I had a kink in my back. And I had to get it worked out a little bit,
So, but like I said, you're right. I have.
But you could be right too.
Solely off.
Yeah,
I seem to know sometimes when things are happening like that. Like like I said, it doesn't take a rocket scientist, and I firmly believe that there are coincidences. If a plane was to come and fall into my house, and it just so happens that it's a plane that somebody that I know is on, that's a coincidence.
Yeah.
Right.
But you're telling me, that a whole raid occurs at a massage parlor right at the moment in time where there's a billionaire in the room. Are you kidding me?
You said it right. In the hood, in a massage parlor.
No way.
Yeah.
And TruBlu probably has better idea of what it really happened because he went to this. He passed the same place.
I mean, like I said, I could be so full of shit, but I doubt it.
I believe what you're saying now. It makes sense. And then Robert Kraft got him back with the stuff. Obviously, with
so
Tom
much
Brady.
so that they actually traded. Well, they traded the wide receiver, and he was a good wide receiver.
Yeah.
For like nothing.
Yeah, you're right. You're right.
And this was before that. That was before they got Tyreek Hill.
Yeah.
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 So all of that occurred, and like I said, I felt like it was restitution. That was a restitution trade.
Yeah, it could. Now you make sense. Yeah, because the wide receiver is still with New England.
Exactly.
Right.
So, and that only happened in March.
Yeah, you're right.
I mean, all this occurred. You got the hiring at the Giants coach, and then you got the text message a few minutes beforehand. You got the suit by the coach.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? Like Brian Flores, the lawsuit that occurs with that. And the whole big deal.
And he makes a good point because very rarely do you trade players in conference.
Yeah.
In division, no less. In division.
Didn't do that at all.
They made one trade before that. Their entire time being in the same division.
Same division.
And that was Irvin. That Irving Fryer.
Mm-hmm.
So one, and then only one throughout all the history that they've been in the same division.
Yep.
Yeah, no way. You can't tell me. Like I said, I could be wrong. I could be way off, and it's all coincidence.
Yeah.
Damn, man. You're talking. I want to go play the lottery then.
So, quick question for both of y'all, and True Philly, please respond. Do you guys play fantasy football?
I don't understand fantasy football.
I played the last couple of years, but I hadn't been. I want to be in a group this year, but I hadn't decided if I'm going to do it yet or not. So I really want to do it because I was pretty good at it.
Yeah, I don't understand it.
So Jim, it's so easy this year. I normally use NFL, and it's simple. Like running backs, every 10 yards is a point. A touchdown's a certain amount of points. So basically, you just pick the best players as you can, because you do a draft, and there's an order of the draft. I I don't really there's actually buy-ins. Like people have buy-ins into these things. I don't. I play for free. This year will be the first buy-in tournament, which is $30 that I've been in the last 3 years. But people make money out of this. It's like 150, and then no matter what transaction you do, it's like $5 to $10. I mean, people actually pay money into these type of things, but I do it for free. I have a Family Feud. I have a league that I've had for years, and it's fun. It's fun. And then my next question was going to be if you guys played.
We ought to have a 5-player contest right here on this.
Actually, we need if PorkRine is in, we could do a 6-man, just us 6.
Yeah, we could do that with PorkRine.
Say again.
I want to see Jim come in last place.
There you go. Should we do it next week?
Hey,
we could do it all next week. We could do another combined show.
Hey,
it's
we would have to do the draft Wednesday because Thursday.
Because you can wish in one hand, pee in the other one, and see which one gets full.
That's what I love about Jim. He's so competitive.
Me too.
In golf.
Now,
you know what?
I've been taking those lessons because I am competitive. Not right.
So I would love. It would be a dream to go golfing with you two fellas. However, if I don't pass the other thing, that the what do you call it? If I don't pass the other box, I am not pulling my pants down for the whole hole.
What work rules? That's what work rules. Everybody knows that.
Yeah,
I'll bribe you all with beer then. Every time I do it, I owe y'all a beer.
We can always play
I don't drink.
I'll give you an iced tea then. You get a nice iced tea. Unsweetened if you want. Unsweetened.
And the Groupon. And the Groupon.
We can play the Dallas Cowboy Golf Club.
That's right. It's pretty reasonable to play.
Hey, I'm down. I'll go just like this.
Now, Byron will probably win this. I'm going to tell you now.
Of course. As long as we ain't betting money. I already told Philly.
I'm going to let them get real comfortable at first, and then I'm just going to sneak up on them.
Well, how about we do this?
Every time I've ever gone golfing, nobody's wanted to go with me again. I bring a bag of balls with me because I know I'm going to lose them.
There you go.
Or we could do this. We could all just meet up at Grapevine Mills and do a little putt-putt golf and just call it.
Go top golf.
Oh, that's what we're doing in Arizona. In Arizona, it's funny you say that. When the Eagles go to Arizona, that there's a group of 40 that are going out and doing their whole golf tournament for charity. So we're going to have the first PSG Open.
There you go.
We're going to go putt.
That's good.
Putt for charity.
There you go.
So that's a real thing. You're
That's
absolutely correct.
what I'm talking about.
My short game is good, and a putt.
Let me ask you this question. We talk about the NFC East. Obviously, we all have feelings about our teams in the NFC East. But in my opinion, the NFC East is the second best division right now on the NFC side. I still think the West is a little better other than Seattle. I think that the NFC East has made moves over the NFC South and the NFC North.
Without question.
They only have one team in the NFC North, Green Bay. The other teams are battling. And in the NFC South, everybody's talking. Tampa Bay they got some issues.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They got some issues. So
I'm
has 3 teams that can threaten you.
I'm seeing Seattle, like you said, problematic, but now I'm seeing San Francisco problematic. And you still, with the quarterback play that's going on there, the Rams, what kind of issues are they going to be on the defensive side? Mm-hmm. And what's ever going to happen with Aaron Donald with the situation that happened in Cincinnati? Is there going to be any
nothing?
Zero. Hey, with Aaron.
So
we talked about that on Sunday.
Yeah, you're going to have a PR campaign against that going, but I just don't see the Rams being as strong as they were last year. And
but Frisco is interesting. First of all, they're really good on defense.
Yeah,
and I watched because I knew we were going to be on this. Trey Lance against the Texans, and he doesn't throw overhand; he throws sideways.
Yeah.
And that's why they signed Jimmy G back.
Yep.
Because they do have enough talent.
Got to get over those players.
Yeah.
You know, and that I'm glad you brought that up, because when I saw the restructure of Jimmy G's contract, immediately I thought, you're basically telling Lance that you don't have faith in him.
Well, it's not only that.
To me, have you seen him throw?
So I did see Lance throw, but it was warm-ups against the Dallas Cowboys last year in the playoff game that you guys lost.
Yeah.
I saw him warming up, and I thought he threw a good ball. Again, that was just warming up.
Yeah.
Okay. But at the same time, if you're saying you're moving on to your future quarterback, but you still got the ex-girlfriend in the back seat, how far are you moving on? And I understand the situation the 49ers were in. They couldn't trade him. They couldn't get the value that they wanted because he was injured and he had surgery.
Now because he has no tag.
Yeah, exactly. So
yeah,
I mean, they're holding on to him for this year, but at the same time, it's like, because if you pull Lance out and you put Jimmy G in, that's going to mess with Lance's psyche.
But I think what they're thinking, if they pull Trey Lance out, he's done. There's supposed to be a heavy quarterback draft next year.
Yep.
And we talked about that because actually Tua and Jalen Hurts are in the same boat. If they
and Jones.
Jones, yeah. And Daniel Jones. They're all in the same boat. If they don't perform well, they said it's a really good quarterback draft next year. There's going to be quite a few that are in the top, 15, 20.
Yeah.
So.
And that's why, watching what happened with San Francisco and that signing, of course, renegotiating Jimmy G's contract, which lowered $20-some million. I mean, he was looking at $27 million cap hit this year. And so was the restructuring of that. But again, going back to the young quarterbacks, that's why I had a problem at the beginning of this preseason with how high on a pedestal they put the Willis kid from Tennessee. I mean, they put him up there on a pedestal with one sidearm throw, and then the following week they're like, well, we shouldn't have given this guy all the kudos that we gave him. And then week 3, he's just running around everywhere for his life. Again, just a running quarterback. Not saying that that's bad or good, but again, it's showing his talent right there on the run side. But what you were saying, the sidearm throw again. So now you got 2 quarterbacks that were drafted, and they're throwing the sidearm, but you got these senior guys behind them. I mean, this is all quarterback driven, but what are we going to be doing?
So
for these kids?
I want to add to that, and you brought up a good point. Like they're changing the motion of how, like,
the technique.
Old school, I was told arm 90-degree angle, keep your hand behind your ear and bring it over your head. Okay. I was told that. Nowadays I'm seeing, and being a former quarterback that I am, I'm still watching a lot of these new coaches coming out, and they're showing everyone how to throw the football similar to Mahomes, like similar to that style of throwing, where they are bringing the arm down a little more, keeping the body more compact and more
65 degrees.
Right. And then, like I said, and mainly keeping the body more compact, keeping the what do you call it? The follow through short and sweet and quick release, and more so. I said Mahomes, but also more like Aaron Rodgers as well. And I don't know if that's the evolution of that position, but I think that's where we're getting away from the old fundamentals. I hate to say old, but the old fundamentals of playing that quarterbacking position. I mean, they're even changing the 5-step, 3-step drop, because now a lot of high schools and college and pros, they're not under center as much anymore. They're more going to shotgun than they are under center. Of course, when I was in high school, we ran a veer option. When I played semi-pro in Germany, we had a pro set option, pro set offense. So it's changing, and I don't know if that's the evolution.
That's because of college and what they're teaching these kids.
And now, what is it? The RPO? I mean, they're doing more RPOs than anything else, and now the NFL is starting to run that as well.
Yeah, and Mahomes is a little unique because his father was a pitcher.
Right.
And he was St. Louis Cardinals. He played for the Cardinals. And I'm sure he had some ideals on how he wanted him to throw. And from baseball to football, because Mahomes was a baseball player too.
Mahomes
he's out there with Byron. He's
Yeah, we know in White House, and it's so true that he baseball helped him with the way he throw the ball. Like, he just know how to release the balls. And it's about
different positions.
So it's all that. But we were taught elbow up.
Yep. Elbows up. Yeah. And it's just, so just to talk about Patrick Mahomes, this guy on the run threw a 50-yard bullet in the end zone. That's unheard of. I just had to throw that out there. I will never forget. I think it was against Jacksonville when it was a 50-yard bullet in the end zone, and it was just ridiculous. And I could understand why coaches are trying to lean towards that concept of throwing it similar. I'll say similar style like the Mahomes and Aaron Rodgers, because the way that they're showing it, it's showing less injury, it's showing less torque on the body and on the forearm, because you don't want a young kid. There's football players that have gotten like Tommy John surgery, and they're trying to minimize that. And that new style that they're showing, I'm assuming, I'm just guessing that's why they're showing that different type of technique than.
Well, some people
past.
have different abilities. You're asking Prescott or a Hurts or a Jones to throw like a Mahomes. That's crazy, because they have those type of abilities that they can get away with it, or the Rodgers. Tom Brady throws it more traditional. So, you have to do what your body allows you or your abilities allow you.
Right.
Yeah. And plus the strength of the arm as well. Like that Prescott, he got that look.
Yeah, that little dance he does.
Stuff. But they I just think that every skill set is different, and some guys do have strong arms. When I came up, we had 5 first-round draft choices in Elway, man, and Dan.
Him and Marino and Kelly.
Oh yeah,
my goodness.
Yeah,
Kelly threw the ball hard.
Oh my goodness. Kelly threw the ball hard in the wind.
Okay.
How the heck could he do that?
Okay.
Yeah.
The only thing I could speak on is someone had mentioned about Terry Bradshaw. Like when he would throw the ball, you'd hear it whistle when it was in the air, because the wind was hitting the laces. You just that's all you would hear.
I could believe
that. So speaking of that, with the whistling and all this other stuff, I saw something, and I guess I didn't necessarily believe it right away. Are they changing the ball for Thursday Night Football?
No.
Have you seen the video?
That is just a promo for a football to play around with.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
That Amazon's making, that long football that Herbert was throwing around, and that's just
okay. I wanted to make sure that was the case. I'm like, they're going to change a football for Thursday night.
No. It's just a fun idea they had.
You got to stay consistent with football.
Yeah, but they changed everything else, so who knows?
Yeah, it was just a fun idea that Wilson and Amazon came up with for a ball for just fun activities. They made it longer, thinner, just so they can throw.
Oh, that's crazy.
Yeah, they said it was like it's like a faster ball. Like they showed what's his face throw it like 100 yards.
Yeah,
really?
Yeah, man.
And not like even hard. Like just it was like phew, and it was there.
Yeah, it's just really thin, and it's like a
interesting
and elongate. It's elongated.
Yes.
So it's more like the loaf of bread.
Yes.
That like it gives you some of that whole thought process.
Wow, I didn't even know that.
But there was a video, and I wasn't sure if that's what they were trying to do.
Yeah, you go see it on Amazon or Wilson or one.
Okay.
You'll start laughing because
I'm seeing it now and it looks hilarious. Yeah, I'm looking at it right now.
Can you share it to the screen?
Oh no, I'm not. I'm looking at it on my iPad.
Yeah, it's just pretty hilarious. It's nothing. It's just a fun joke. Well, it's not a joke. It's a serious thing. I think they're going to put it out there, but it's for fun.
They can't mess up. They practice with football like this they can't mess the game up. I tell you what.
They would have to start it in the off season. You're right.
Yeah.
But hopefully they don't do that.
Yeah, no, it's just a fun idea that they're having to sell footballs with Wilson.
So speaking of the changes, how do you guys feel about I mean, it's been now a couple years where now only the top seed gets that 1 week bye in the playoffs and the addition to the 17th game. Now, hold on, and I'm going to be real. When the NFL is trying to show an emphasis on safety, they add an extra game. To me, that I don't want them to take away, don't get me wrong, but more so the one playoff game or the second round. How the top two teams got that 1 week bye. Now it's only the top seed. What's your guys' thoughts on that?
Well, the teams that did get the bye for whatever reason struggled this year. If you remember it,
yep.
Tennessee, none of them made it to the
Super
Bowl this year, and I don't know if that's an abnormality or it's just something that's going to happen because you do get in a rhythm, and that disrupts your rhythm.
Yep.
For whatever reason, once you get in that rhythm, you want to keep playing. Cincinnati's a prime example. They got in a rhythm, and they played against some pretty good teams. Tennessee, obviously, and they beat Kansas City, and a lot of that was Kansas City's fault, like Pac Express, but they still beat them, and they still went there, And then the Rams didn't get a bye week. Who got the bye week in the? It was wasn't it
Green Bay.
Green Bay.
Yeah, and then San Francisco.
Yeah,
they lost due to special teams. Green Bay.
Yes, that's right.
So there is one thing that I also did see this preseason, which I think the NFLPA or I don't know who's going to come up with it, but the crackback on the low hits on the defensive ends.
Yeah, so I don't like that.
You had Watt go out, and you had the.
I don't know why it became such an
Thibodeau.
Because it's always been like that.
Yeah.
It's been always been like that. So I don't know why the emphasis, and it was Randy Moss's son was the one who got T.J. Watt.
Yeah.
And then Thibodeau was, and he got Thibodeau, didn't he?
Yeah, and Cincy,
Watts did. I mean, Randy Moss's son got Thibodeau.
Yep.
And it's become an emphasis, but that's not unusual for a tight end to go low. They were supposed to be in the box, meaning they had to be lined up behind the tackle to do that.
Yep.
But it doesn't look like that's happening.
Correct. And what was even more concerning was the emphasis it happening on preseason.
Exactly.
When you can see how the players weren't proactive and reactive, thinking, okay, it's a preseason game. Nobody's going to come down and chop block me. Well,
right.
If you're out there, you better be prepared for everything.
And that's the part I was saying. These guys are on the defensive side thinking, well, this guy's not going to really do anything. Well, lo and behold, 2 guys got taken out and are probably now going to be starting 3 or 4 weeks.
Yeah. But
I'll be shocked if Thibodeau don't start week 1. I mean, I know he's out 3 to 4, but I'll be shocked if he doesn't start. But yeah, I don't agree with especially during a preseason game. I'm sorry, what were you saying, Brian?
I think he needs to set his butt down, Thibodeau. I mean, it's a long season. Why rush get back in at the beginning of the season? That don't make sense.
Yeah,
that's true. Now that it's a 17 game season. So real quick, let's do something because we got like 10 minutes left. Where do we think? What are your rankings this year, projection wise, for the NFC East?
Well, we did the power rating a couple of weeks ago, Jim and I. The Cowboys were 10, Philly was 15th, Washington was 20th, and the Giants were 24 out of the 32 teams. But I'm thinking Philly going to end up winning the NFC East. In my opinion, I think the Giants might finish 500. Cowboys might be a wild card team, and of course, Washington going to be the last place team.
I hate the Cowboys. I was doing that for PorkRine, but it's going to be an interesting season because, like I said, I think the NFC East has gotten better. I think Philly has made some really good moves, but I think the issue that this is the second year of this group as the coaches, and I think people are going to understand them more from in conference. I mean, that's what I really do believe. I think Philly will get off. I looked at their schedule. They should be really good at the beginning. They should have the better record because Dallas plays Tampa Bay on Sunday night, and then they play Cincinnati. So they could be realistically 0-2. Then they go to New York. Then they play New York
Monday night.
Yeah.
New York on Monday night.
I'll be there.
Yeah. So that's the thing, is Philly should start off hot, but can they sustain it? And that's the question you have to ask, because Philly's first 8 games are easier than Dallas's. But if they both stay injury-free, I'm still going to go with the Cowboys. I think in the long run, they're going to go. But they're going to but I think Philly has improved. I think Philly has, like I said, they have quality in the lines. They have the best offensive line in the maybe in the NFC and maybe in the NFL.
What do you think about Dallas' depth?
That's where I'm concerned at. That is a real big concern because they don't have a lot of depth. They'll get Gallup back in 2 or 3 weeks, but 2 or 3 weeks might be too late because Noah Brown is going to have to step up. They like Turpin, but Turpin is what, 153 pounds? Come on.
5'7". He's a special teams guy.
Yeah, and then, do they have enough? Jerry was saying today they're going to run the ball much more, but do they have enough to run the ball? Do they have enough talent on that offensive line? That's the question I ask you, because they're not very big. They're not very big offensive line-wise as some of these teams. They're the more physical teams because they got to play the Tennessees.
Well, their offensive line don't have no depth, Jim.
That's the problem.
Yeah.
They're talking about signing Jason Peters.
Yeah, I saw that.
Shoot. They're talking about signing. That's dangerous when you get in there at that age.
Right.
And possibly put them in there eventually as a starter or swingman. And that's not saying Jason Peters is not talented. That's not what I'm saying. But
yeah, unfortunately, I feel like that every year he plays now, it just takes away from him being a first ballot Hall of Famer.
That's what I'm saying.
It's a shame because he had a Hall of Fame career, and the last it was already 3 years ago he should have retired.
Yeah.
Now it would be 4. You know what I mean? So I can imagine him still being a good player, but ultimately it's time to hang him up, but sometimes you just can't get away.
Yeah.
And age 39, I believe.
Yeah.
So
hey Jim, he grew up 20 miles from my high school.
Oh, he did?
Queen City, Texas. He's from East Texas. So
I thought he was from Arkansas.
No, he grew up in Queen City, Texas.
Oh, okay.
Right by Texarkana.
Oh, okay. I didn't know that.
So he
Peters, Jason Peters.
Yeah.
He had a brother who played in the NFL too.
I didn't know that.
But he's a Texas guy. He was supposed to come to the football camp last year, and Big Butt didn't show up.
Oh, okay. Did y'all beat him real bad and he just was still mad about high school stuff?
Yeah.
And I think this is probably a good question. I don't know. I'm not going to say to end all this, but in the time that you guys were in the NFL, were you guys ever like when you guys were doing the contract negotiation, did they ever have to put in a clause for you to have mandatory 4 hours study time?
No.
Okay.
No. That's Byron's guy. He'll answer that question.
Nikki G, you ought to be ashamed of yourself.
Well, and I want to. So he went on. I saw the press conference, and yes, I'm talking about Kyler Murray, and I think that whole thing got blown out of proportion. But when he
I don't.
Well, no. I'm sorry. I mean, the whole scenario of him, being leaked about the contract. But real quick, when he went and he mentioned his accolades about him being undefeated in high school, I'm happy for him. About him playing in college, good for you. You won the Heisman. You did what you did. I mean, to be fair, when you're in the NFL, when you're at that level, you're playing against everybody's an All-American. Everybody's an All-Conference. So what you did in the past, it's kind of like, oh, good for you. I mean, but now what he does in the future counts more, right?
That's true.
So was it worth bringing up his past accomplishments?
All he had to do is Aaron Daughters would have told him to shut up and sit down. He would have shut up. Yep. He's so afraid of Aaron Donald. He saw him coming out of the locker room and fell down.
Well, Tim, that's what you were talking about earlier about, these guys are in the NFL. Everybody is good who's in the NFL. That's why you're here.
Yep.
And that's the thing. I think he hurt himself when he did that, but let alone let the rest of the team know that he wasn't up to par on studying film.
Yeah.
So
and again, it goes to what I said before. Let your actions speak on the field.
Yep.
Don't talk about it in the press conference. Be about it on the field.
Be about it.
Exactly.
It's one thing too. I saw a press conference this week. Tom Heidi, whatever. When he signed with New England, he said he was going to be the first one in the film room at the quarterback room. We went in at 5:00. Who was there? Tom Brady said, "Who are you?" Tom Brady already.
Yep.
Some of these guys need to show and study some of these
right.
things that some guys have done, and I think that's the point. You never can be bigger than the game, and so
that's true.
So these guys
you never know everything.
To be great, you got to do great things.
Yep. They say Peyton Manning would be there opening the meeting room.
Yeah.
That's how early he got there.
Right.
Yes,
and I guarantee
some people just don't want to be home. That's kind of what it comes down to. I mean, they got something to do, obviously, but that's really where it all comes down to. It's just a matter of work ethic. It's just whatever ethic you want to go by.
Especially at the quarterback position. It's not always the most gifted. It's the one that's going to put in the work.
It worked.
Right. Yeah.
And Parcells was one of the first coaches to start going in early in the morning. He was one of the first coaches, and the results speak for itself.
There you go. Well, on that note, we're down to the last minute of time here. So I would say join us next week where we will do our first ever combined fantasy football draft. We're going to teach Jim how to do this so that he's going to wind up in last place. And we'll figure out all the rules. Hopefully, PorkRine will be able to show up. And, we'll get everything all worked out. We'll have 6.
I can put the league together.
Okay.
There we go.
All right.
So he's going to put the league all together, and we'll be able to do this. The first ever 6-man fantasy football for the Northeast Streaming Sports shows.
Hey, I'm going to send Jim his notes, so don't worry about Jim. I'll take care of it.
Hey, Jim, you want to get a kicker, the first round pick. You want to get a kicker, a good kicker.
Okay.
Yeah, the kickers,
All right.
Yeah, and on that note, thank you for everybody for joining us.
Thank you, everybody.
And everybody have a great night. And as always, go Birds.